Welcome to our channel. What's up, history buffs, and welcome back. Ever wondered how a civilization runs for thousands of years without smartphones, the internet, or even a single coherent map of the world? Well, today we're diving deep into the heart of ancient Egypt to find out. We're putting two legendary cities head to head, Memphis and Thebes. These weren't just places on a map. They were the command centers, the spiritual hearts, and the cultural engines of one of the greatest empires in human history. They were ancient Egypt's headquarters, and their story is the story of Egypt itself. So grab your virtual sun hat and let's journey down the Nile to uncover how these two power capitals shaped a dynasty. First up, let's talk about the original gangster, the old capital, Memphis. Founded way back around 3100 BC, Memphis was strategically built near the fertile Nile Delta. According to legend, it was established by the legendary King Narmer, also known as Menes, the very first pharaoh to unite Upper and Lower Egypt. This location wasn't an accident. By placing the capital right at the junction of these two lands, Narmer created a powerful symbol of unity and a practical center for control. From its earliest days, Memphis was the hub of administration, the center of the economy, and the unbreakable seat of royal authority. It was from here that the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom managed the resources, manpower, and logistics needed to build the very first pyramids. Think of it as the ancient world's first truly massive government complex, setting the stage for centuries of Egyptian rule. So why was Memphis so incredibly important for so long? It all comes down to three things: location, location, location. Its proximity to the Nile Delta in Lower Egypt gave it access to the most fertile agricultural land in the kingdom, ensuring a steady food supply. This spot also made it a natural crossroads for trade routes connecting Egypt to the Mediterranean world and the lands to the east. From Memphis, the pharaohs could control all river traffic, effectively holding the keys to the kingdom's economic lifeblood. Militarily, it was a fortress, a central point from which armies could be dispatched to defend the borders or quell internal dissent. It wasn't just a city. It was the nerve center of the entire state. To put it in modern terms, Memphis was like having the White House, Wall Street, and the Pentagon all rolled into one sprawling, sun-baked metropolis. It was the ultimate center of power and prestige. Now, you can't talk about an ancient Egyptian city without talking about religion, and Memphis was no exception. The city's chief deity was Ptah, the god of craftsmen, architects, and creation itself. According to Memphite theology, Ptah was a supreme creator god who brought the entire universe into existence simply by thinking it in his heart and speaking it with his tongue. This belief made him incredibly important. He was the divine patron of all the builders, artisans, and sculptors who were responsible for constructing the temples, tombs, and pyramids that defined Egyptian civilization. If you were an architect designing the step pyramid of Djoser or a craftsman carving a statue of the pharaoh, you prayed to Ptah for skill and guidance. In a society that expressed its power through monumental construction, the god of building was one of the most revered figures in the entire pantheon. Memphis wasn't just a political capital. It was the home of the divine architect, but as with all great powers, the era of Memphis couldn't last forever. Over hundreds of years, the political landscape of Egypt began to shift. The pharaoh's focus started moving southward towards the lands of Nubia and the rich resources they held. As Egypt expanded, new cities in the south began to grow in prominence and influence. This didn't happen overnight, and Memphis didn't just crumble into dust. It remained an important city, a major religious and cultural center for centuries, but it slowly lost its status as the one and only center of power. The spotlight, which had shone so brightly on Memphis for over 1,000 years, began to move. A new contender was rising in the south, ready to claim the title of capital and lead Egypt into a new, even more glorious era. And that brings us to the new powerhouse on the block, Thebes. Located hundreds of miles south of Memphis in what we call Upper Egypt, Thebes is the site of modern-day Luxor. While Memphis dominated the Old Kingdom, Thebes rose to become the capital during the Middle and New Kingdoms, Egypt's age of empire. This wasn't just a simple change of address for the pharaoh. The rise of Thebes represented a massive shift in Egyptian politics, religion, and identity. It was a statement. The rulers from the south were now in charge, and they were ready to take Egypt in a bold new direction. The message was clear: move over Memphis, there's a new king in town, and its name is Thebes. So the meteoric rise of Thebes It began with the strength of its local rulers. During a period of division, it was the Theban princes who successfully reunited Egypt, establishing themselves as the new line of pharaohs. Their military success was key. Thebes became the launching point for campaigns that expelled foreign invaders and expanded Egypt's borders further than ever before, creating a vast empire that stretched from modern-day Syria to deep into Sudan. These were the warrior pharaohs, names like Thutmose III and Ramesses the Great, who transformed Egypt from a regional kingdom into a global superpower. With its control over the southern trade routes and the gold mines of Nubia, Thebes became fabulously wealthy. This was the city from which Egypt went global, projecting its power across the ancient world. If Memphis was the political capital, Thebes became the undisputed religious capital of Egypt. The city's local god, Amun, grew in importance alongside the city itself. As the Theban pharaohs conquered an empire, Amun was merged with the sun god Ra to become Amun-Ra, king of the gods and lord of the entire cosmos. Thebes was his sacred city. Pharaohs poured unimaginable wealth into constructing vast temple complexes in his honor, making the city a spiritual heart that pulsed with divine energy. The Temple of Karnak, the largest religious building ever constructed, and the beautiful Luxor Temple were the centers of this worship. They weren't just buildings. They were sprawling cities of stone dedicated to the gods, staffed by thousands of priests. In Thebes, religion was elevated to an unprecedented scale. It was the place where humanity came closest to the divine, and the religious significance of Thebes extended beyond the world of the living. The vast, arid landscape on the west bank of the Nile, directly opposite the city, became the eternal resting place for the pharaohs of the new kingdom. This sacred ground is home to the world-famous Valley of the Kings and the Valley of the Queens. Why bury the pharaohs here? The Theban Peak, a natural pyramid-shaped mountain overlooking the valley, was considered sacred. Plus, carving deep, hidden tombs into the rock offered better protection from tomb robbers than the conspicuous pyramids of the Old Kingdom. This shift reflects a change in funerary beliefs, focusing more on hiding the royal burial to ensure the pharaoh's safe passage into the afterlife. Less pyramid, more secret, treasure-filled tomb. So let's do a quick side-by-side comparison. Memphis, in Lower Egypt, was the administrative and political capital of the early kingdom. Its main god was Ptah, the creator, and its legacy is one of unity and organization. Thebes, in Upper Egypt, was the religious and military capital of the later empire. Its main god was Amun-Ra, king of the gods, and its legacy is one of power, expansion, and unparalleled religious devotion. They had different roles, different gods, and dominated different eras, but both were absolutely essential to the story of Egypt. To sum it all up, Memphis and Thebes were the two pillars that held up ancient Egyptian civilization for 3,000 years. Memphis, the great unifier, gave Egypt its foundation of organization, administration, and central government. It built the systems that allowed the kingdom to thrive. Then came Thebes, the great conqueror, which took that foundation and built an empire upon it. It gave Egypt its golden age of power, imperial expansion, and profound religious expression. Together, these two incredible cities represent the dual nature of ancient Egypt, the pragmatic administrator and the divine king, the builder and the warrior. They are the reason we are still fascinated by this incredible civilization today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey down the Nile. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Egypt's power capitals, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the ancient world. Let me know in the comments which city you'd rather live in, the administrative hub of Memphis or the spiritual heart of Thebes. Until next time, stay curious.